Shalom Aleichem, Ka'al Kadosh. My name is Rabbi Aviv Mizrachi, coming to you from Aventura, Florida. First and foremost, I would like to say a huge thank you to the entire Young Israel family for honoring me with this week's video, D'var Torah. This week, our Torah portion, Parshas Pinchas, is actually a continuation from a story at the end of last week's Torah portion. Last week, we saw a misfortune where Klal Yisrael fell victim to an idolatry called Peor, as a result of which there was a magifa, a plague, which cost the lives of 24,000 people. Part of that story, we see Kozbi Batzul, who is a Midianite princess, and she's brought over to Moshe Rabbeinu by who? In the hands of Zimri ben Salu. Zimri ben Salu is the head of the tribe of Shimon, and he brings this Midianite princess by her ponytail to Moshe Rabbeinu, and he asks Moshe Rabbeinu, and he says, Moshe, is it permissible for us to marry Midianite women? And Moshe Rabbeinu tells him, no, it's not permissible. What does Zimri ben Salu do, the head of the tribe of Shimon? He imposes himself onto this woman and has relations publicly in front of the entire Olam, watching him do what he needs to do with this lady as a public spectacle. Moshe Rabbeinu, the quintessential hero in the Torah, falls on his face and starts crying. However, we see a new hero who emerges, and his name is Pinchas. Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen. And he takes a spear, and he drives the spear through the both of them, as our Mefarshim say, in the place where they were connected, through their organs where they were connected, and he executes them on the spot. As a result, HaKadosh Baruch Hu offers a very, very special two-part gift to Pinchas. As the Torah says, that he offers him, Hareni noten lo et beriti shalom, I offer him a special covenant of peace. And then it also says, V'haita lo ulezaro acharav brit keunat olam. Also for Pinchas and all of his offspring, basically the name of Kehuna should be endowed upon Pinchas, and therefore, Rabbi Isai, all of the Kohanim we know today are truly the descendants of Pinchas ben Elazar HaKohen. When we look at this at face value, it seems that really the Magefa stopped as a result of this driving the spear through the two of these people. And therefore we think that really that HaKadosh Baruch Hu honored Pinchas with these two gifts for executing these very vile people for this ugly spectacle that took place publicly. However, I heard a very beautiful insight, and I think that it will bring meaning also to you. Really, if we look at the collateral problem over here, it's that Pinchas took an enormous risk. He took a risk, number one, to be murdered on the spot right away by the entire tribe of Shimon, in retribution for Pinchas basically slaughtering their leader. They were a tribe of warriors and heroes, and very likely they could have just killed him on the spot. Secondly, Pinchas himself was also a son of a Midianite woman. And therefore, even if they wouldn't have physically killed him, Pinchas himself, he could have lived with public shame for the rest of his life. As many places our sources in our Torah teaches us that a person who is shamed publicly himself is like he is passed away or dead. So when we look at this and we think of this, Pinchas really had ultimate self-sacrifice on himself. He really put his body and his name aside, and therefore, Mida keneged Mida, HaKadosh Baruch Hu offered him two gifts. Really, the Gemara says that Pinchas was reincarnated into Eliyahu Navi, and therefore Pinchas has the immortality, the gift of immortality, and therefore, like he put his physical body aside with the risk of being killed, so now he is merited with immortality through Eliyahu Navi. And secondly, his name, which could have been ruined and destroyed, he could have been laughed at by the entire Olam, but nonetheless, he put also his shame and his pride aside to do the right thing, and therefore he was merited with this gift that all the Kohanim that shall ever come into the world after him will be named after him. So therefore, really, all the Kohanim we know today are the descendants of Pinchas ben Elazar HaKohen. When we think about this, I want to make sure that we don't receive the wrong message over here. For example, we shouldn't go to maybe an anti-Israel rally and go challenge or fight with those who are protesting against Israel or Jewish people. Chas v'shalom. That would only create a chilul Hashem. The whole point of here is to create a Kiddush Hashem with the mitzvot that we already do. With the same pride and with the same zeal that Pinchas had, where we sometimes need to put ourselves aside or make an extra effort to sometimes persevere, even if it's not comfortable. That's the way that we make a Kiddush Hashem, and that's how we sanctify Hashem's name in the world. Recently, someone in our midst came and turned to me, and he told me a very interesting story. He said he doesn't live very far away from his parents, maybe only a 5-minute drive. And him and his wife, they went over for dinner, and they had a seuda where they washed and they had bread. And obviously the completion of that meal would be to say Birkat HaMazon, to bench, to say grace after the seuda. Somehow they got distracted and other guests came over, and before he knew it, he was already driving home. And he realized as he was parking his car at home that he never benched. He never said Birkat HaMazon. And halacha teaches us that we actually have to bench in the same place where we sat and we ate. So this person, despite being so tired and after a hard day and a long day, decided that he's going to get back in his car and drive back to his parents' house and sit down at the table and bench. You see, Rabbi Isai, each and every one of us can have a little piece of Pinchas HaKohen inside of us. The real zeal that we need to do is to show Hashem, even though despite the fact that sometimes physically it's hard for us, or we may be embarrassed to show that we're Jewish publicly or otherwise, there are solutions for everything. And by showing that zeal, the life and the dugma of the heroes that are written here in the Chumash, they can live vicariously inside of us. I hope this was insightful, and I want to thank everyone for the opportunity to share this idea, and that I hope you all have a sweet and beautiful Good Shabbos.